All right, everybody can hear me okay? Can see me? Good. All right, sweet. So let's take a second and review. Anybody remember what this is called? I can't see behind me, so you guys can either just yell out. A plate, very good. This is our plate or our block. And what type of printmaking are we doing here?
Relief.
It is relief, very good. And specifically, what kind of printmaking is it?
Collagraph.
Collagraph, very good. You said it and he said it at the same time. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got relief printing, collagraph. Printing is the type where you collage and then, but it ultimately works a lot like a relief. Anybody remember besides relief, what are the other two main types of printmaking? Use that as my whiteboard. From that very exciting chapter. One of them is a fancy name, begins with an I. Italian. Nope. It's intaglio. And the other, I'm glad we're reviewing. These are all questions that you will see on your quiz eventually. Planographic. All right, so we got relief is things like linoleum, woodblock. The Hokusai print that you guys are going to be looking at is actually a woodblock print, which is amazing. And then collagraph. Intaglio is things like engraving, etching. Planographic is litho. Anybody remember what lithograph was? Yeah, that's the one where you literally are drawing on a stone with a waxy, greasy crown, and then you use that as a resist to print. Stenciling, sort of count stenciling and screen printing. Screen print, also mono printing, which is basically where you're painting on top of a sheet of acrylic. All right, so we've got our plate here. We got a pretty decent texture on it. I added a few little details. I think I'm going to be happy with it. We'll find out when we print. Anybody remember what this is called? We may not have talked about this. The roller is incorrect and will get you a X on your quiz. This is a brayer. A brayer, very good. All right. Is ink Is ink the same as paint? No, how is it different? It's stickier and it's thicker and it dries really slow. So you'll notice I'm wearing my smock today because if you want to, and I also have down some paper on the table. So when you go to do this, you will want to probably have a smock and you will want to probably put down some newspaper on your table so that you, oh gosh, I just realized my head's totally cut off there. Sorry about that. So you want to, oh, now I got my camera in front of my face. That's not much of an improvement. Just know that ink is different. And then let's see, this is our inking slab. All right. Fun fact about this, it is not actually blue, it's actually clear, but you guys can see that if you kind of pick at the corner, you can get that edge and pull this protective layer off. You don't have to, but the idea of it is to help protect the acrylic from getting scratched. So I actually like leaving it on the back so that the back side is protected. If I ever decide to flip it over, I can pull that off. Trash can, and I missed. Okay, So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking through the process of doing what's called an artist proof. Artist proof. 2 F's, 2 O's. Proof. I can spell. All right. An artist proof is basically a test print. It does not count as part of your edition. Edition. An edition is the official number of prints in your series of prints, after which the plates should be destroyed. Okay. So that no other ones can be printed. And we will be numbering our edition, and I'll teach you how to do that. Okay. First thing we need to do to get set up, and you want to make sure that you have everything set before you start. Don't do this halfway. You want to make sure you have everything good to go before you begin doing any of your printing. You want to make sure you have your materials ready. I like to have water. I like to have paper towels nearby in case things get really crazy. If you art class, you're going to get, you're going to get dirty, you're going to get messy, and this stuff tends to stain. So if you have a job like a cashier at a grocery store, I actually used to work at Ucrops, and I would come and my hands would be like black, and my boss would be like, you cannot work here because my hands would be so black. So I had to start wearing, when I was painting and doing printmaking, I had to start wearing little like plastic gloves. So if you care about the color of your hand, you will want to put some gloves on. You will also want to make sure that you have your paper. I've got my 10 sheets. I give everybody 10 sheets of paper. That should be enough for a series of 3 and quite a few for mess ups. All right. So we're going to take one of our sheets to start with. Got our ink. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy here and I'm going to tape it down. I'm actually going to tape my protection sheet here. If you guys, if it's easier to watch there, you can. If you want to get closer, you may. It doesn't matter to me. All right, so I'm just going to put some tape down so that this thing's not sliding all over the place. I have not done a test print of this plate, so I have no idea how it's going to work. It could look terrible. Some people love printmaking. I have a mixed history with printmaking. I guess it's probably the best way to describe it. In college, my printmaking teacher took pity on me after I was trying. We had to do an edition of 10, and the goal of printmaking is that you get 10 or an edition where all of them are exactly the same. And I really struggled to get 10 exactly the same prints. So much so that he just took pity on me and he was like, "You're a painter, not a printmaker," which was 100% accurate. So I am taping down one of our pieces of paper. This is going to be our register. Registers help to simplify the process of printmaking. You will probably not want to move this very much once you have it taped down. So again, try to find a place where when you go to do this, you can kind of do it for a period of time. If you have your 2 plates, you will. I'm just going to do the 1 plate. But anybody have a bonus? Can I borrow one of your plates just for a second? I'm not going to print it. Let's assume this is my 2nd plate. What you want to do is you want to align your plates and organize them on your register the way you want them to be printed. Okay. And then you're going to take a pen or a pencil or something. And if you want them to be like really close together, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But you want to trace them. And this will help because it will help make sure that you always put them in the same spot every time, because you want each of your prints to always be exactly the same. Does that make sense? This is actually a really great little trick if you are doing a multicolor print, like the Hokusai you'll see is actually a multicolor print, which is kind of amazing. And it is, you can actually do what's called a reduction block print. But you do want to make sure that you center it in a way where like the bottom is at least even with the top. If you want to make one side a little bit more, you can actually shift them and make the bottom a little bit higher. In this case, I'm just going to keep them centered here, but definitely make sure your sides are about the same. I'm just eyeballing it. You will probably want to use a ruler or get kind of close. All right. So that's step one. You want to get all of your registration set up. Actually, step one was making sure you had all your materials. Step two, registration. Okay. Step three, we're going to ink our plate. And step four is we're going to print. All right, here we go. So this is our ink slab. I'm going to give this back because I'm not going to ink this. Normally, you would do both at the same time. All right. Keeping in mind that you want to make sure that you've got good, hopefully everybody's got a good sealant on this, because again, you're going to wash these today. And then you normally, when you're printing, like if you're doing an edition, you would not wash them after every time. You would keep printing. But today, because we may make adjustments, we will wash them. If you don't have a good sealant on it, don't print today, because you'll want to make sure you have a good sealant on it, because if you wash it and you don't have a good sealant, it literally will fall apart and then you'll have to start over, and that will be sad. So don't do that if you don't have your good 2 coats of sealant on here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rock this bad boy out here. I'm going to put just a little dollop, a little ink will do. I don't need a ton. I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see how much ink I'm talking about. All right, most of that's just water, but that's, you know, a decent size. Here's my thumb for a little bit smaller than the tip of my thumb. All right, I'm also going to get another sheet of paper. If you have newspaper, it's awesome. If you don't have newspaper, use scrap paper. When we're inking our plate or our block, I like to have a piece of paper so if I roll over, it doesn't get everywhere. All right, so here we go. I've got my brayer. All right. You will also want to make sure at the end of today that you clean your brayer thoroughly. So what I'm going to do is let me move this where you guys can see it better. Can you guys see okay? All right, so I'm going to work in one direction and then I'm going to work in the other direction. Get that great classic kind of thing. But I want you to listen. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it online, but you guys in person, listen. What you're listening for at a certain point is kind of a sticky, like if you're walking through the mud and you're literally kind of your feet are like, you know, as you're walking, you know, that kind of sound effect. You're listening for that kind of stickiness. You have to hear it, and that tells you that you got it kind of spread thin enough. Not there yet. This is a particularly squishy brayer. You start to hear it? I'm going to hold it up here so you guys can. You don't want too much ink. It kind of starts to kind of pull a little bit. All right. So once I've got that kind of spread nicely, my brayer is beautifully covered, nice and even. I'm going to go ahead and roll on my ink. Oops. You may also want to tape down your. Want to make sure you have enough ink on your plate. I'll rotate it here. Because this is a relief print, your areas that are raised should be, I did not use enough sealant. The raised areas are the one. You can also go in slightly different direction if you feel like you're not getting everything that you want. Okay, cool. Put that there. All right, sweet. Now here's the fun part. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to put it back on the register, and your brains are going to explode because you're like, boy, that Mr. Hall, he's really smart because he really thought this through. And in fact, I just learned from good teachers. So watch this. Okay, so I'm going to make sure it's lined up nice on there the way that I want it. I'm going to take my one sheet of paper, make sure your hands are clean as best you can. Okay. Now watch this. I'm going to start and I'm going to line the paper up here on this corner like so. And then I'm going to drop it gently. Now I will say if you've got 2 plates, you do have to work kind of fast because you could theoretically print them one at a time, which wouldn't be a bad idea necessarily. I'm going to kind of rub it on the back again, to make sure your hands don't have a ton of ink on them. It's never a bad idea if you have somebody nearby that can help you. That would be, it's always nice to have an extra pair of hands. Okay. We're going to burnish this with a spoon. If you have a wooden spoon, that's great. If you have a lot of fine detail, a little metal spoon is handy. Okay. Nice thing about the wooden spoon is, and I'm using the rounded back. Nice thing about the wooden spoon is that it covers a big area. Did your brains really explode when I dropped the paper like that? Because now it's registered. Isn't that clever? I think that's lovely. And if you have an area that, again, has a lot of detail, I might get in here and do a little extra rubbing with this as a kind of more of a detail thing. Okay. All right, sweet. So then we're going to pull that back off. Might have to hold down your plate. And voila, we have our first print. Ta-da! I know, amazing, huh? That's exactly what you're all saying. Where's the applause? Let's see those. Let's see that applause online. Thank you very much. All right. It is worth noting that when you're doing a test print, now I can be like, oh, okay, I feel like I need more definition in the edge of the caterpillar. So I may go back and kind of try to define that edge a little bit clearer. I can also do another test print if I want to see whether that would solve the problem. We are going to go ahead and take a second before we get too far along with this, and we want to let folks know this is an artist proof. So when we do these artist proofs, if I can get my pencil to load, that's the only thing about mechanical pencils is inevitably when you need them to work, sometimes they don't work. So I'm going to grab right here. You always want to sign in pencil, never, ever, ever, ever pen. All right, and we're going to do what's called I don't have my second part here. We're going to do A over P, and we'll call this transformation. And you want to date it and sign it. And I like to always kind of line it up with the edge of the image. All right, and so that is additioned. It's not really additioned, but it's artist proof. So that's good. And then you'll want to put that on a drying rack or someplace safe because that will take some time to officially dry. At this point, I can do one of two things. I can take this and I can try to ink it again and print it again just to see whether, oh, well, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if there was just more ink on it. Or if I'm like, oh gosh, that printed terribly, I need to go in and make some major changes. Then I can just go ahead and re-ink. I will say the ink is probably good for, 30 minutes, give or take. At a certain point, you may need to put out some fresh ink, but that little thumb-sized dollop is doing probably all it needs to do. So your goal today, while I am prepping to ink this again, your goal today is to do an artist proof of your plate and to make sure that it is working the way that you want it to work. And that's for both of your plates. And if your plate is not working the way you want, is you want to basically continue to add elements and then reseal those elements. I'm going to try to get a little extra ink right there. Okay. You'll want to re-add those elements and reseal it, as unfortunately I'm going to have to do because that string is coming off. All right, I'm going to print one more for those of you at home who want to watch. I've got my stack of paper ready to go. My hands are moderately clean. I'm going to line that edge up here. Drop it gently. Brains explode. Clean up your brains. Burnish. For those of you who are in the classroom, you, instead of burnishing, you could theoretically do the printing press that we have, and that is going to give you a little bit more even pressure. Sometimes it can also screw things up, but again, ultimately the goal is to get your image the way you like it, and you're going to want to try to get exact copies of this. All right, so here's my original. There's that one. This one, the first one I did is a little bit darker, so I probably needed to add a little bit more ink. You know, see the difference? Yeah. So you do want to try to keep them as consistent as possible. So it looks like I probably needed to put down a little bit more ink on that one. And this is kind of, today is the day to practice, to test out your plate, get the kinks worked out. At the end, you'll want to rinse your plate off. I will say if it's really, really delicate, and I'm thinking about Sarah, I know she's got that 3D stuff. If it's really delicate, I probably wouldn't wash it, you know. The ink will dry and it'll be fine. So that would be the other option, is just to not wash it. Questions? Questions here? No questions. All right. So print your artist proofs. Make sure that you get your any adjustments to your plates after the fact that you want to make, and that's it. And then on Wednesday we'll do our real edition. Summer, you have a quick question?
Why shouldn't you sign in pen?
Tradition. Printmaking is a tradition-filled craft, and there are certain like the whole idea of editioning. That is just it's tradition, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you're a printmakers take their craft very seriously, and so we always want to try to oblige that tradition. Good question. All right, everybody, have a great day. Good luck. Happy printing, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Don't make a mess. Don't make a mess. No promises is right. A over P.